Hey, what's going on? So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about making lists and using lists for an ADHD brain like me and how I use them to prioritize everything in my life and my work and my mind and my future goals and my everything from every direction and consolidate them all into lists. And I do a bunch of different types of lists, and I'm gonna kind of run through them all today a little bit, as well as talk about this book, 365 Ways to Succeed with ADHD. So this book's great, and when I decided I want to make this topic about lists, I went into this book because I read this every day. It's 365 ways, which means basically there's one page for every day of the year. So I generally read 2 of them in the morning on the days that I remember to do it, but they're pretty short. So anyway, I picked up this book and all these little blue tabs here, there's a whole bunch of them, all have to do with lists. And what's nice is there's a little table of contents at the beginning that gives you the header of each one as well as the author, because this book was compiled by a person, it was edited by them, but everything in here is a whole bunch of different people, mostly ADHD coaches and experts. So it's pretty cool. It's good for if you have ADHD or if you have a family member or a child who has ADHD, or if you are a child with ADHD or a high school student or something, college student. There's great tips in here for like studying and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm gonna get into this a little bit. Anyway, let's see what we got here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is read one excerpt out of here. This was kind of my favorite one. To-do lists. There are many tools and suggestions on how to keep track of your to-do list. Problem is that if it doesn't work for you, what good is it? Try different tools and techniques until you find what works for you, no matter how simple or low tech it might be. I keep 2 lists, one for items that need to be done that day, and another for those that have multiple steps and will take several days or weeks to complete. I write the daily list in my basic spiral notebook. For the other longer tasks, I use an Excel spreadsheet. So that one was by an anonymous writer. And right off the bat, they talked about spiral notebooks. So I use these, they're called steno notebooks. And they flip at the top versus on the side like a normal spiral notebook. And they're smaller than a normal spiral notebook. I use these for everything. This one is titled Random. And then I've got one over here called Spiritual, which is stuff that I learn in therapy and life coach and other different places that's got to do with my mental health versus just random stuff. And then I have pages that I tear out of them, like the super important pages every once in a while. So like these top 4, I think there's 4 here, are all about Premiere Pro and Photoshop, the Adobe programs. And they're like shortcuts and things that I need when I'm editing videos and photos and stuff. So they sit right there on the desk, and that's where my lists like kind of start, is in those steno notebooks. And I also have on my desk a little notepad at all times, and this one right now has my video ideas on it. But this is just a short list of my video ideas because I've got a big master list, and it's actually 2 pages long. And you can see here, as I finish a video, I cross it off, and it's not necessarily in order. It's just as I come up with the ideas, they get put on the list and they get added to on the bottom. So I'm due to update this. So one of the reasons I wanted to make this video was I've got all these lists, and I'll show you more as we go along, but I've got all different lists for all different things, and some of them are handwritten, some of them are typed out, some of them are on spreadsheets, some of them are in Word documents. And I'm compiling them all. So I've got to go through them all and make sense of them all and make sure they're not things on 2 different lists and all that kind of stuff. And but I'm not going to go through that all on here. I just want to talk about the actual lists and how I do this stuff. But that's what prompted me to make the video, was just the fact that I had so many and I got to sit down and do this again. And you'll actually see on this list that sits right on my desk, these little notepads that I've got, it says lists on my video ideas. And that one's circled because I knew I was gonna do that one next. And anytime I finish something on a list, I cross it off. It feels so good to cross something off a list. I mean, like, look at these lists I've got. There's stuff crossed off on all of them. And, you know what I mean? Now let me talk about these since I got them out. So these are literally just an 8x12 sheet of paper that I cut in half and cut in half. Or sometimes I print something and it only prints on the top half and then I have to throw it away. So I cut off the bottom half and then cut it in half. You know, anytime I've got scrap paper running around, I cut it up and I use that to make these smaller lists, which I keep a stack of on my desk tucked in between my stapler and my hard drive. And these are kind of like on the fly. They're on my desk. I can just write stuff down. I've also got these notepads. I've also got a bunch of different little sticky pads that are different colors. So there's lots of places for me at all times to be able to just jot something down, which I think is super important. And that's something that was mentioned in another one of these readings, was having things everywhere in your house to be able to just write something down on the fly, so you don't have to do it. You can just write it down and then come back to it later. And like, I'll write something down on a sticky pad and put it somewhere and then add it to a list, you know? And these lists, you know, so here's some lists that I have. I have a clipboard that generally has a bunch of lists and sheets of paper with important things that I have to do on them, so that I remember, like, pick up this thing and look at it. And it's kind of like it's in the proximity of my desk always. So I have to move it or something. So it makes me look at it and go, oh, maybe I should flip through this, right? So that helps me remember to see that. And in there, in particular, I've got a bunch of different lists on that one. So like on the clipboard right now, I've got all this stuff on there. There's some bills I have to pay. There's some just like, I don't know what to do with this. It's pricing for printing. I don't have anywhere else specifically to put this, so it's just here. Just like random papers, you know, bills, just random stuff that I have to deal with. I got a plow contract I have to file. Like, it's all important things I got to do. But included in there are some lists, right? And I've got, let's see here, 6 different lists just on this clipboard. Now the first one's kind of like a master list of to-do items, like just random lifey items. There's some work stuff on here. There's some house stuff. There's a real estate class I got to do. Just a whole bunch of different things. And I've got it categorized, like how many hours it's going to take me, or how many days if it's a really long project, and even how much money it's going to cost. So I can look at these and go like, okay, I just need something quick to do. Like, this one's only going to take me an hour, right? That was clean the shower with the drill brush. That actually ended up taking me about 2 hours to do that because I made a video on it. But I've got it right on there, and then when it's done, boom, cross it off. This master list also has some weekly stuff and some monthly stuff that I have to do that just like is recurring things. It's not like one and done, but I need to remember, like clean the shower. Hey, if you're getting anything of value out of this right now, go down below, hit the thumbs up button, and subscribe to the channel. And hit that little bell notification so you can get notified when I put out new videos. All right, back to the video. So I've got a master list of my video ideas, which I had already showed you this list, which sits on my desk. This is new ideas or videos that I have to do soon. So this is like, because this is buried, this is on my desk. So I get dumped, brain dump on here, and then these get transferred into here. And I think I've already, yeah, these have already been transferred into here. So this list can go away and I can retype this and make this more concise. And then if I want, I can make a smaller list of video ideas to do right away. And then these other ones are like media, which is photo and video stuff, just a random list. This is work to do on the house and jobs that I have to do. Now these jobs, I also have a list in my work binder, which is this leather bound thing. In here there's a list at the back that has all of my jobs and how long they all take, inside and outside. So what I'll do is I'll take this and I will condense that and add it to that typed out one, which I carry with me. I don't even know why I have this other one, but I do. So again, this is why I'm going through all of this today and wanted to share this with you, because after a while, I don't realize where the lists are and what I've got already written down. So every once in a while, I have to just recondense them. So yeah, these are lists. And then I've got these little pieces of paper that I mentioned that are not only I can just write stuff down while I'm sitting at my desk, but they're also my daily to-do lists. So at night, I will generally write on this list what I want to do the next day. And like this was yesterday's list, and I got almost everything done except for the last thing, which got pushed off to the next day. And this was today's list, which I got not quite as much done, but a bunch. And then actually these last few things I added on so that I can push them on to tomorrow. So, you know, this is what works for me. I've tried apps on my phone. I've tried things on my computer. I've tried Google Calendar, like notepads, different task managers, all that kind of stuff. And they don't seem to work for me because, like I read on that first thing out of this book, I have to remember to actually look at them. If I have a piece of paper sitting on my desk, or I have a clipboard, a physical thing that's in my way, I will remember to look at it because it's there, it's in my space. If it's an app on my phone, I don't think to look at the app, even if it's on the main page of my apps or whatever on the phone. It doesn't mean I'm gonna see it and I'm gonna go, oh yeah, notes. I've tried that. I've put it right on the main page and it doesn't work. The Google Calendar, I go through phases where I use it and I don't use it, depending on what I'm doing in my life. But it's really good for tracking stuff, as far as, like, I go through these phases where I feel like, oh, I didn't get anything done today, you know. And if I use Google Calendar correctly, then I can look back and say, wow, look at all these days stacked up in a row and all these things that I did, and they're all color coded depending on what they are, and certain colors mean certain things. And I can look and say, like, oh, there's a lot of blue on that day, and blue is stuff that's like I like to do, it's like personal to me or whatever. And then there's like green is like work stuff. So if I feel like I'm doing a lot of work stuff, then it's not so much. And gray is like if I'm doing videography or photography stuff, which I love doing, that's kind of a cool one to see, like if there's a lot of gray. So it does work if I use it, but I never remember to go on the Google Calendar and to fill everything out and all that. I've tried, it's just, for an ADHD person, I have to remember, or even a normal person, you just have to remember to do it. It's really hard for me personally. So I end up falling back to these little lists. They work really well for me. Oh, another thing I've got is a whiteboard downstairs right by the back door. We just installed it recently and it is amazing because I could be like leaving or just coming home or whatever, and I see this note. So a lot of times I'll write something that I want to remember as I'm leaving the house. So I'll write that on the whiteboard and then I'll be like, boom, you know, or it's like, you know, our kitchen's attached like right in the back door. So be in the kitchen working and be like, oh, and write something down, or we got some grocery ideas on there or some dinner ideas, stuff like that. So, you know, we can have these lists in plain sight that we can see them, and they look nice. You know, whiteboards are nice enough. We've got it kind of like in a nice little thing. So, all right, so I could probably keep talking about lists, but I'll stop. If you do want to check out this book, again, there's a link down in the description. It's a really good book if you have ADHD or a kid with ADHD, or you can give it as a gift for someone who has ADHD if they won't be offended by it. But it's a really great book, so check that out. I'll put a link for these steno pads if you're interested in them as well. And give the video a thumbs up down below if you liked it, as well as a comment. Let me know what you think about these lists and what you do for lists. Subscribe to the channel too if you're interested in all sorts of leveling up your life stuff. I'm kind of all over the place on this channel, but I'm kind of all over the place in my regular life too. So it seems fitting that I bounce all over. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.